Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite knives from my own personal collection. Now, before we get started, I don't want anybody thinking that this video is something that it isn't. I don't want anybody wasting their time, so I want to explain this properly. This top 10 list is not based on, which knives are the sliciest or which knives are the most utilitarian in any number of infinite circumstances, or which knives are the most cost effective, right? The best cost to utility rate. No! All of that is out the window. This is my own raw emotional, attachment to certain knives in my collection that I spent my own money on. Don't proceed any further if that's going to bother you. Also, everything that I'm about to show you is not only very expensive, but really, really hard to get. So with all that being said, if this doesn't sound like your type of top 10 list video, I don't blame you at all for not watching. Anybody else who wants to see what my favorite knives are in my collection, stick around because I'm going to show you guys. And I'm going to show you them in order. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's start off here with number 10. And that's going to be my customized Spyderco Shaman. Now, this particular one is, of course, a River's Edge Cutlery exclusive with the PVD-coated FDE or flat dark earth blade in CTS 204P. It's a very rare Shaman blade, and then it's also been outfitted with Cerakoted titanium scales, which were made by Flytanium, but then Cerakoted by River's Edge Cutlery. They have a great Cerakote program. It's also got the Flytanium titanium backspacer, which was Cerakoted, and then it has a DLC, or at least black coated, I'm not sure if it's DLC, MXG deep carry clip. This is kind of, the Shaman is one of those knives that I just have loved the design, right? Yeah, it's gone up in price, blah, 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 whatever. This is already bought. And this was way more expensive. The money that's in this is already insane. That's where I am willingly existing, right? Yeah, but this was kind of like my ultimate Shaman. I had this idea for a build in mind for a long time, and it was a different build until River's Edge Cutlery came out with this exclusive. And originally it had the OD Green G10 scales, which are now on a different Shaman. But I kind of took it apart, pieced it together, had some things customized. And this is my own personal, just favorite Shaman that exists. And I think it's got $400 to $500 in it at this point. I don't really know. But it is wonderful. I love it. And it is absolutely one of my favorite knives in my own personal collection. Moving on here to number 9. And that's going to be the Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon. This particular version sporting a Fullard compound harpoon Damasteel blade. These were the 2019/2020 runs, and this is one of the most perfect knife designs in existence. Of course, Sharp by Design, Brian Nadeau makes custom knives in the United States. This particular one is a production variant. It's made by Riot. These are really hard to get now. This specific variant was one of the more prestigious ones, and it's always just been kind of this symbol of perfection to me. It's definitely, it represents a lot, definitely. This was my first major venture into Sharp by Design knives, and it was kind of the gateway into me realizing exactly how masterful Brian Nadeau's work is, right? Even when it is just a production knife and not a custom knife, which you will see an example of later in this video. But it's just wonderful, right? Now, originally, I think these were about $350 without Damasteel blades. With Damasteel blades, they were something like $500 to $525 or something like that. So this was a pricey knife for sure. Yeah, I just love it. Perfect ergonomic lines, perfect flipping action. I love the lipped detents. I love the inlay work. I love the pocket clip. This is just a fantastic knife. Moving on here to number 8, one of the most expensive knives, like if you're buying them brand new and you're not paying secondary market prices, one of the most expensive knives that's out here today, and that's going to be the ROXTED Hego2. This is a mirror polished ZDP 189 blade that has a convex 0 grind on it, etc., etc. Rockwell hardened to 68. It is the most excellent cutting beast in my collection. This thing will outcut everything in my collection and most knives on the market. That's just how incredible the blade is. Now, it's a $1,500 knife. Holy crap, you have to be crazy. Yeah, I know. I've been told that for 4 years, right? I'm a crazy person, right? Carbon fiber, we have anodized titanium for the liner or frame lock, whatever you want to call this, frame lock with overlays. The pocket clip is underwhelming, etc. I feel like this knife is kind of overpriced. I bought it anyway, and you know what? I'm glad I did. This thing sees an enormous amount of pocket time, and I just love it. It's just been a fantastic user, and the design is excellent, right? But I like this knife more for how it performs. This is one of the only ones in my top 10 that really gets used that hard, and that's why I love it so much, right? So, fantastic knife. Probably a bit overpriced, but still in $1,000 territory. I think that area is justified, even just considering how much work goes into the mirror polish blade alone. So, wonderful. Moving on here to number 6, my most recent acquisition on this list, but definitely one that I have a very specific feeling about, and that's going to be the Hawk Deadlock Model C OTF. In my opinion, the greatest OTF in the world. These are pretty expensive. These are about $1,000. This is a custom knife with machine elements. It is the only, I know people are going to argue, but no, your Benchmade Infidel does not lock out solid. This is the only OTF in existence that truly locks out solid with no blade play or rattle at all. That's why they call it the Deadlock. It's also got a phase switch. It's perfectly symmetrical. It's utilizing, I believe this is 7075 aluminum with a carbon fiber inlay. Has some awesome titanium inlays, and then we have this cool pocket clip that's got kind of the spring tension thing underneath. Anyways, just a perfect OTF design. This is the best OTF that exists, and I knew I had to have it. And there's just, you know, I own a lot of Microtechs, and I love them. I own Guardian Tactical. I love it. There's some other OTF companies that are up and coming that I think are doing really good work. The Hawk Deadlock is just completely and totally unmatched. Do you need to spend, again, do you need to spend this much money to gain some sort of ultimate utility? No! That's not what this list is based on. It's sort of what this knife represents, right? To so many people, everything on this list is going to be massively overpriced, but it doesn't matter. It's just what it means to me. This knife, anybody who owns this, you own the perfect OTF. It is, in my opinion, better than anything else on the market. Also operates so smooth. It's so snappy and perfect. I've never had a misfire, right? The power on it is awesome. The blade grind is awesome. The fit and finish on this thing is absolute perfection. It's wonderful. I love it. Moving on here to number 6, a knife that was in my collection and then was not in my collection, and then was produced again in a newer form. And I had to jump on it. Also a fairly recent acquisition, and that's going to be the Riot Jack 1.5. This is a Cranes Cutlery exclusive with the beautiful Mokutai inlays and M398 hand rub satin finish M398 aggressive clip point blade. Wow. Yeah. This is an integral knife. Riot's, in my opinion, this is their greatest design ever. Full, all one piece of titanium for the frame instead of a pillar construction, right? Something that is 2 separate pieces of titanium that come together, held together by barrel spacers or a backspacer or something like that. No, this was a solid brick of titanium that they milled out to accept the inlays, the pivot hardware, the blade, etc. This also, the reason I like it so much is because of the way that they did the inlays, it houses the frame lock, or liner lock, whatever you want to call this. It's not an exposed frame lock, which means that you can enjoy flipping this thing freely without putting excess pressure on the lock bar. Ergonomics, wonderful. This is a big, beastly, massive, just crazy thing. This is just such an insane knife at 9¼ inches, right? The fact that they just went, they just went nuts with the Mokutai, right? Which some people like, some people don't. I don't really care. I like it, right? But yeah, I do like Mokutai. I love it, and I'll always be willing to spend a little bit more for something that I appreciate visually, even if it doesn't offer anything in the realm of utility on the knife, right? Wonderful fit and finish, absolutely perfect. We have drop shut action, just absolutely drop shut action. And the lines, everything. The inlay work, it's just perfect. Wonderful. Moving on here to number 5. That's going to be, to a lot of people's surprise, right? The Shurgroff F3 NS. But you said that was the greatest folding knife design of all time. Yeah, I do think that the Shurgroff F3 NS, right, if I'm being as objective as possible, is probably the greatest folding knife design in the world. Made in Russia, about $1,000, by the way. But is it my favorite, like my emotional absolute favorite? No, but it's definitely up there. I love this design for that reason. I love this knife for that reason, because the design is so utterly perfect. We're talking about an incredible blade to handle ratio. We're talking about incredible materials, carbon plate, carbon fiber, in this case with a little bit of bronze flakes in there to match the bronze spacer and clip. We're talking about expert level machining, blade geometry, the slicing geometry is incredible. The materials overall, M390, of course. We have, again, a nice, thick, sturdy titanium liner lock. So no unnecessary pressure on the detent ball on the blade, so you can just flip it, right, and enjoy it. The weight on it is incredible. It weighs, if I'm not mistaken, under 5 ounces, which is pretty amazing for a knife that's got a 4-inch blade. Let's go ahead and weigh it here just to be sure, because maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember. Yeah, 4.8 ounces. Wow. Not absolutely perfect ratios, but just really good. And Shurgroff, in my opinion, their design language, their design aesthetic is, to a lot of people, these look like fancy steak knives, right? Fair enough. I love it. I absolutely love this knife. The action, everything. It's got multi-row bearings. This is the more spicy version of this knife. Just love it. Absolutely. Well deserving of the number 5 spot in my collection. Moving on here. So number 4. This might really surprise some people. Number 4 is going to be the full titanium Demko AD20. This is the big boy. This is the American-made boy. The one that everybody wants and nobody can get their hands on. I know. People are like, that's such a flex. You are such a jerk. I knew that I wanted this knife the moment that I laid eyes on it, and it was the Rick Hinderer fan in me that made me love the aesthetic of this. It had ergonomic lines that were very similar to what I enjoyed in Hinderer knives. It had a diamond textured titanium setup that was, or just the diamond texturing, because I own another one in G10. The diamond texturing in general is something that I really like, but mainly it had this unique locking system, this new shark lock, which, this is the same guy, Andrew Demko, who invented the triad lock, right? The legendary triad lock that is the strongest lock in existence. Well, now we have one that's actually, we have a lock that's actually able to be manipulated with one hand, conveniently and swiftly. I know you can manipulate the triad lock with one hand, but it's a lot more clunky. Even those of you who are diehard triad lock fans, right? It's a lot more clunky. This is way easier to manipulate, and it rivals, if not exceeds, the words of Andrew Demko, the strength of the triad lock. So we have kind of this ultimate, if you want to know which knife I think is the most durable in my collection, it's this one, right? As far as a folding knife goes, this is about as close as it gets to a luxury apocalypse tool. I just love it. I love the look of it. I love everything about this knife except for the pocket clip. It's just okay. I purchased this knife for full price, which was $625. This is an MG AD20 made in the United States. That's not what these go for, though. Unfortunately, these go for, I don't know, what is it? What are the eBay prices now? At least $1,200, maybe more. This is definitely, a lot of pride in this guy, for sure. Love the American madeness. Love the chunky big boy. I love the bit chunky big boy nature. I love how easy it is to manipulate. I love what an amazing tool it is. I don't carry this one, but I do carry my G10 version, and it's wonderful. Just love it. Absolutely. Moving on here. Let's see here. Let's see. This is number... Did I get off a little bit? I think I probably didn't number them correctly. In any case, we're actually down to the final three, and that's going to be my full titanium Hinderer XM24. A lot of people originally subscribed to my channel because of my infatuation with Hinderer knives. It's no secret that Metal Complex is a gigantic Hinderer knives fan. This is the aesthetic that truly did, it was the nail in the coffin in terms of like when I was trying to figure out like, am I a knife enthusiast? The first time I laid eyes on a Hinderer XM18, which this is not, this is the bigger guy. This is the 24, but the first time I laid eyes on a Hinderer XM18, that was it. I was a knife guy, right? Found out the 24 existed. This is funny, I tell this story all the time. We are currently experiencing another Hinderer shortage, right? If you're looking at this and going, God, I'd love to own one of those, but I can't get one. Not the first time that's happened, guys. Back in 2011 to 14, it was also impossible to get a Hinderer knife without paying nearly double on the secondary, right? Good luck with an XM24. In my mind, I was like, the XM24 might as well not even exist. Those are impossible, right? Fell in love with Hinderer knives. I purchased, from then to now, this is the truth, over 30 Hinderer knives. This is my pride and joy. This is a Hinderer XM24 Tri-Way Harpoon Spanto in CPM 20 CV. And I'm sure many of you have noticed, or you already knew, the scale on it is an authentic Hinderer titanium scale, textured titanium scale, which was basically non-existent. The only thing more rare than a production XM24 outside of the customs, of course, was the freaking scale that went on the front of it. These were literally non-existent for years. And there was a short run of them recently. And thanks to somebody who was paying attention on Instagram, thank you to that person, I'll never forget you, I was able to snag one of these. So I've got 800 I've got 800 bucks in this knife, but I know what these are worth now. It's not so much, the pride and joy of owning this stuff is not necessarily about how much it's worth, but you know, I'm not saying it's hurting it. But yeah, pride of ownership here. To me, this is like the ultimate Hinderer knife. The XM24, the big bad boy, full thickness with the 190 thousandths thickness on the blade. The Tri-Way, of course, all stone washed, the textured titanium, all that together. And just, you know, it kind of represents, this knife represents kind of the pinnacle for me of going from just barely being able to find a Hinderer knife and then going all the way through the obsession and, you know, kind of having this idea like, how cool would it be if they made an XM24 with a harpoon spanto and I could get a titanium scale? That would be ultimate, right? Well, you know, about 9 years into the journey, it wasn't really that long. Yeah, I don't know, 8 or 9 years into the journey, well, I finally put it together. So this is absolutely one of my favorite knives ever. Moving on here. Definitely the most expensive knife in my collection and the most exotic looking. This was my first true custom knife. And that's going to be the Hermann Dragonfly, which is made entirely out of Damascus. That's the clip, both scales, the backspacer, entirely out of Damascus. And then we have titanium hardware, right? The screws and things like that. Even some amazing detail on the, like the detail on this knife is absolutely just insane. I'll give you guys a look at that here real quick. But then we have a Demko blade. Anybody not familiar with Demko? That's actually 3 different compositions. We have a jacket of Damasteel. You can actually see here on the spine, there's a core steel, and then on both sides of the core steel, there are layers. Those layers consist of 2 different steels, same thing as the Damasteel blade in this guy. This whole blade is Damasteel. That's RWL34, which is a powder composition, and PMC27, also a powder composition. This is made by the Damasteel company. It is not the same thing as Damascus. This is, you know, in San Mai format, but the Damasteel composition is proprietary to the Damasteel company. They use that as the jacket in this case, and then the core in their Demko, which is proprietary and also made exclusively by the Damasteel company. the core of this is similar to Vanax, which many of you are familiar with as an extremely exotic composition. In any case, just the amount of work and the amount of complexity in this thing is absolutely insane. Titanium Damascus, Demko steel, an incredible design. We have a countersunk titanium liner lock. Beautiful, beautiful action. The singing blade, the legendary singing blades from Hermann. Just an absolute monster, beast freak of a pocket knife. This is it's not meant just to be pretty. Damascus is incredibly durable. Demko is incredibly performance oriented, and in this case we have a geometry that is made to cut and slice for a long time. So this thing is really, truly like an ultimate knife. I love this thing. Moving on here to the final knife, the most cherished knife in my collection. I think my people who watch my content regularly, you know exactly what this knife is. I'm still gonna, you know, I'm gonna still pump the juices of suspense into it. This is a full custom Brian Nadeau, sharp by design, Arch Nemesis folding dagger. Wow, not too many of those floating around that actually are good designs. This is one of the most expensive knives in my collection. I don't know exactly how much it was though, because my wife purchased this for me as a gift for our anniversary. Now she does this every year. Generally she stays around the $200 to $300 range. This guy was around, I think, $1,500 or $1,600, and she had contacted Brian Nadeau, who was kind enough to custom make this for me. I'm not gonna say Brian Nadeau and I are best friends, but we know each other just from YouTube and Instagram and the knife world. But they had a pretty good idea of my preferences and things. So what we ended up with was a monochromatic full titanium design here, where we have some diamond texturing, then we have some beautiful micro milling, fully symmetrical. Of course, this is a frame lock, and then we have a, oh my gosh, a double compound ground dagger. Sharp on both sides. And if you're wondering, is that a little bit dangerous to open and close? Yeah, it is. But because of the design, it really is magnificent. And I gotta say, that's my most satisfying flipper. There's nothing quite like flipping an Arch Nemesis. I've only ever handled 2 of these. I got to sample one. There was a generous viewer who let me borrow his so that I could take a look at it and show it on the channel. And once I handled it, I knew that I had to own this. This is such a crazy knife. It's made so well. It's so beautifully perfect. The design is fully symmetrical, and as crazy as the idea of a folding dagger is, it actually works in this case. The whole design is so masterfully thought out. Every last little detail is just perfect. So that, you know, I've always kind of, ever since I laid eyes on this, I kind of had it on a pedestal, like this is the ultimate pocket knife. This is like the ultimate grail knife. That and the fact that my wife bought it for me as a gift. This thing is, I don't know, in a lot of ways it kind of ruins this list for the future, because I think it's, unless my wife does this again with something else, it's never not going to be at the top. This thing is just, it means that much to me. I love this knife. So there you have it, folks. I don't know that there's enough room to have all of them back out here, but I will at least get my top 5 back out so you guys can see them all here. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know, you know, it is kind of frustrating to have somebody go through and just like show a bunch of knives that are really expensive and unobtainable, but you know, it's just, if you get far enough into this, you get deep enough into this, this is where you end up. You end up in this crazy area where you somehow justify the purchase of not 1 or 2, but multiple really expensive rare knives. And that's just this hobby. I've never had a hobby that has had such a powerful draw to it. The itch is real, right? You know what that is. You know what it feels like. This is it, right? The knife hobby is, oh, it's powerful. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. It's going to be pretty much it. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you did enjoy this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.